So they have this Parkinson's expert, this doctor on NBC News. Welcome to Doug at Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. You'll see him make a face over when they keep pushing him going, so what you're saying is, and he keeps going like, Biden's gone. He's got Parkinson's. Watch this.
I'm joined tonight by Dr. Tom Pitts. He's a quadruple board certified neurologist. He sees patients with Parkinson's all the time. Have you noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah. I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean, word finding difficulties, and that's not, oh, I couldn't find the word. That's from degeneration of the word retrieval area.
He's also overcome stuttering, though. Could that be part of that, too?
No, this is not a palatal issue or a speech discrepancy, which is very different from a lemino dysfunction, actual word retrieval.
I love how the journalist there tries to play that excuse. They go, but Biden has a stutter. Can it be the stutter? That's what they've been running with for 4 years. Biden has a stutter. Thinking you're stupid and thinking this doctor, but he's an actual real doctor, an actual real expert, and it doesn't work.
Plus the rigidity, monotone voice.
Wait, go back to that, the rigidity. What do you mean?
Rigidity, loss of arm swing, standing up lordotically. You notice when he turns, it's kind of en bloc turning. It's not a quick turn. So that's one of the hallmarks of Parkinsonism is rigidity and bradykinesia, slow movement.
So what you're saying about Biden is, I don't quite get it. It didn't quite sink in.
And he has that hallmark, especially with the low voice that said was a cold.
Yeah, that's the other excuse the press said is he had a cold. He had a cold. And he's just going and going, no, we're not dumb. I'm not dumb. You think people are dumb by telling them Biden has a cold. Does it look like he's walking around the way that he talks for the last 4 years is because he has a cold?
Hypophonia, a small monotone voice like this over time is a hallmark of Parkinsonism. I could have diagnosed him from across the mall.
Yes, all of us diagnosed him from across the mall. Anyone can see it. You don't have to be an expert. He's saying it's so obvious if you just glanced at him. You'd know.
Yeah, it's a hallmark. Shuffling gait, we call that, so little steps. Loss of arm swing from the rigidity. When we walk, we have a nice cadence. You notice he doesn't really swing his arms. And en bloc turning, meaning he kind of pivots around his foot. If you said, hey, President Biden, he wouldn't go like this.
Yeah, if you said, hey, President Biden, he'd stare off into space. This guy is great. I can't believe NBC had him on. They should still be covering up for Biden. What are you guys doing? Bringing an expert in where we can have him affirm what our eyes have seen for 4 years instead of the news that NBC's been giving us for 4 years.
Yeah,
but I also know. Tell me if I'm wrong here. It's very hard to diagnose Parkinson's, isn't it? It's not.
Okay, there's a face. This is my favorite face. It's really hard to diagnose. Right? He's going, no, you're crazy.
Simple. I mean, I've heard that it can be.
It's one of the easier movement disorders to diagnose, actually.
Right,
but it's so clinic. There's very little other. And I'm a Democrat. I always say about this.
I love it. I'm a Democrat because he's about to go like, you're a Republican, right? You're a plant, right? You're a political activist. No, I'm an actual scientist. I'm an actual Democrat. The newscaster, he doesn't know anything about this disease. He goes, it's really hard to diagnose, right? I've heard it's really hard. He goes, no, actually, it's one of the more easy ones to ever diagnosed in the history of neurodegenerative diseases.
This guy is not a hard case.
But I've had.
So this is not a hard case, he says. It's only hard if you're a journalist, if you're a Democrat, not a Democrat, a hardened leftist, lying socialist journalist. That's when it's hard. The truth is very hard. It reminds me of the Saturday Night Live sketch where no matter how many ways that John Lovitz tells Phil Hartman that he's fired, Phil Hartman just can't get the truth in. He's going, level with me, man. Tell me where I stand.
Arrest, Harry.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Johnny. I think you should take a rest, too. A permanent one.
What do you mean?
I'm letting you go.
You mean?
Yes, your contract isn't being renewed.
But Harry,
You're finished, Johnny.
Don't mince words.
I think you stink.
Don't miss words. What do I have? He goes, you have Parkinson's. But tell me the truth. What do you really think?
But I've had relatives who have gone through issues, neurological issues, and I've heard that sometimes Parkinson's is not very easy to nail. You have to take a lot of tests.
It's early on. If you're just presented with like hallucinations, that could be a variety of things, or just the cognitive problems. That could be Alzheimer's versus Parkinsonism, and that becomes a little nebulous.
Oh, that's much better. So Biden may only have Alzheimer's.
But once you start manifesting the hallmark motor symptoms,
Right.
slow movement, rigidity, mass facies, hypophonia. I mean, if a med student did not pick Parkinson's on the test, they'd be remediated.
Well, but the media, they could not pick Parkinson's on the test, even though they knew he had Parkinson's. It's obvious. You could see it from across the mall. He's saying if a med student, that is the doctor that visited the White House 8 times, if he didn't diagnose Biden, he'd be fired. Therefore, the guy for 8 times visited Biden and told him he had Parkinson's, and they hid it from you. This is the largest American cover-up in history from the White House. This is worse than what Nixon did in Watergate.
You have no idea what happened in the White House, but a neurologist coming 8 times in 8 months, does that tell you anything? Is that, I mean, I know you're just sort of speculating here, but does that tell you anything or no?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're like the best of friends or something, but that's a very specific, he's a movement disorder. That's a subspecialist in exactly what he has. And there's very few young people, like a Marine Guard. Most people would be med boarded out for any type of movement disorder at a young age. Like if you had Huntington's chorea, early onset Parkinson's, dystonia, bad essential tremor, you're usually med boarded out. So I highly doubt there's...
What does that mean, med boarded out?
Med boarded, I mean, the military would not let you, if you have seizures, for example, you cannot usually be in the military.
Okay, but you can be the commander in chief. Excuse me. This is because the White House is going with another excuse is, oh, maybe the doctor visited 8 times, the neurological disease doctor, because members of the CIA, a member of his personal, his personal guards might have needed a doctor. He goes, no, they wouldn't be able to serve if they had this neurological disease. They med board you out. So he's taking away just another excuse that NBC is trying to do to cover up for Biden. And really, they're covering up for their own incompetence because they were part of the cover up. They don't want it to look like it was obvious. It should have been obvious to them.
And they're not saying this, but they said there's thousands of military members that go to the White House that are treated there for health reasons.
Yeah.
You're not buying that that's a random military person.
No, that would be very odd to just see a random movement disorder case at the White House, especially a young guard. There aren't many young people that have movement disorders that could be in the military.
Yeah, NBC News journalists should have dug this out and should have gotten ahead of it if you were doing your job. There's no cover left for you to hide behind. This expert will probably never be invited on NBC again. But for him, it's just black and white, crystal clear. He's a Democrat, so it's not for political reasons.
And then, a lot of people have called for a cognitive test. What exactly would that entail? What does that mean?
Now, that's the key, because word finding retrieval doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what you want to say. What I cannot comment on is his ability to make good decisions. His motor symptoms are degenerating. He has Parkinsonism. That is a fact. He has degeneration of the brain.
The president has degeneration of the brain. My compassion goes out to him. I don't want to mock his suffering at all. I am only mocking his own arrogance and inability to look at himself and say, I'm in trouble. That's a small mockery. The much bigger mockery is the White House staff, people who do have their minds and are his caretaker, Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, and the media, the Democrat Party, and the media that told us for 4 years, he's sharp as a tack, he's sharp as a tack. They all knew he was not sharp as a tack. They were lying to you and trying to peer pressure you into believing, going, hey guys, he's sharp as a tack, right? He's sharper than ever, right? That's who I'm making fun of.
Show me the MRI. Show me he doesn't. Put your money where your mouth is. He definitely has it. But the problem is when you look at his situation, you can't say, oh, I know for a fact that because he didn't retrieve the word, he didn't know what he wanted to say. And that's why both him and Trump should take the 4-hour neuropsychological testing, which is the hallmark test for cognitive performance.
And Trump would take the test. Biden will not take the test. They'd never release the MRI for that very reason, because they actually know what the MRI would say already. That's how sure they know that he would fail the test. Because they're not going to show you that. They're not going to even take the test. So they can always have plausible deniability. Hey, we didn't take the test. How could we know? I'm not an expert. said, Contingency Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court justice, goes, I can't tell you what a woman is. I'm not a biologist. I'm not an expert. This guy's an expert. He's a Democrat, and he called it. Biden has Parkinson's, a degenerative disease. His mind is going down, and the Democrats are saying, nope, put him in charge of the leader of the free world. That's how dangerous they are. That's why you never put an X next to a Democrat. When you vote, it's Republican all the way down. That's just to start.
Finally, I mean, you said you're a Democrat, you're a doctor. You sound like you're frustrated with what the White House is saying.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because, I'm an American before everything.
Oh, you're an American. See, that's what separates you from most Democrats, is you're an American before a Democrat. What does that say about them? He's actually throwing the biggest insults at them. He's calling them all liars. He's saying they're Democrats before they're that is clutching to power before they care about their own country.
And I look at it and say, when I used to see Russia, Soviet Union, North Korea, when they just make outrageous things, like when North Korea can't keep the lights on and they say, oh, it was some faulty power thing. I kind of hate that kind of stuff.
This is from a Democrat expert doctor. They're not just liars. They're liars on par with North Korea. This is why I love MSNBC News. Look at this, guys. We're getting the best insults against the Democrat Party from the Democrat News Network.
They had 4 years. My own party had 4 years to find, this was a wreck in slow motion. And they had 4 years to find, out of 350 Americans, one person that could take the place. And here we are the day before school trying to do the homework and replace a guy who's got a neurodegenerative disease.
So don't be vague. It's not cutting through to me yet. Tell me where I really stand.
Listen, Harry, if you're unhappy with my work, tell me now.
You're through! Do you hear me? Through! You'll never work in this town again!
Don't leave me hanging by a thread. Let me know where I stand.
I think you're the worst actor I've ever seen, and I get 500 letters a day telling me the same!
What's the word on the street?
If you like this content and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. I'm Doug in Exile.